And a pleasant good evening to you. Welcome to the East County Sports Report for Wednesday, September 25th, week number 6, Dave. We got several teams on a bye again this week, so we'll just navigate our way through the games that we're expecting, but we could touch on some of the teams that aren't playing this week, maybe review some of the things we missed on last weekend's show. Certainly, we had some fun last week after the games, but we got, seven matchups this week involving East County 11-man football teams, and we'll run through those here for upcoming Friday night. We're all on Friday night this week, Dave.
No Thursdays, no Saturdays, no Sundays, and if we play our cards right, we'll get you your information, folks, and you'll have time for the second game of the San Diego Padres LA Dodgers series.
Well, heck yeah, let's do it. I'm ready. All right. I don't know if there's anything you want to cover from last week's action, Dave, that we did talk about. Certainly, we had some great games last week. We talked about them on the post-game show there, but certainly some interesting results from last week's games. We'll get into this week's contest as well, but let's roll right into the matchups here. I think, let me see here, Dave, just have the graphics ready to go with you, and we'll preview the games. There we go. Sorry about that, Dave. All right. Let's start it off here with the Mount Miguel Matadors. They're going to be hosting the Loyola Cubs here, Dave, in a matchup. Right now, this is going to be a real tough game for Mount Miguel. We do have them ranked pretty high. The polls, they seem to be slipping just a little bit in the computers. Maybe the strength of schedule is starting to come into play here a little bit, but still they are facing a team, Dave, that is pretty strong despite just a 1-3 record, a team that is rated higher than the Matadors here, the Loyola Cubs coming in. Now, this game is at Mount Miguel, so maybe that evens things out a little bit, but the computers certainly are going to favor the Cubs here in this game. They offer a pretty good balance of rushing and passing. They come in just 1-3, but they faced a tough schedule where they're at anyway. And the Matadors come in, of course, undefeated. They're 10th in the computer rankings right now are the Matadors. But we have them a little bit higher, or I have them a little bit higher anyway here coming in. So I don't know if we know enough about the Cubs here to maybe pick a winner. I would imagine that Loyola is expected to win this game, but I want to give Mount Miguel a big time chance here to prove everyone what they're all about. I don't know if it'll be a big penalty if they lose this game as far as their ranking is concerned, because Loyola is ranked higher than them despite this record. But I think Mount Miguel probably figures they expect to win this game.
Well, two things. I think Coach pretty much is, he said it to me before they even started action. Not to worry about them. They're going to win the games. They're going to win all of the games, and just wait until they start playing league. With that being said, Loyola, where do they hail from?
Yeah, Dave, the Loyola Cubs are from Los Angeles. This is a established program. Many years here, just played a tough schedule, man. They've played the likes of they lost to Damien 30-29. They lost to Lusinger 40-30. They did beat St. Francis last week. That's a team that we're a little bit familiar with. This team also lost to the Cathedral Phantoms of LA, not our Cathedral. So this is where they hail from. This is where they're coming in from. In their section, they're ranked right now 75th, I think, in the state overall. So this is what you're looking at, the challenge that the Matadors face. I think they've not hand-selected this opponent, certainly, but in an upgrade of their schedule this year, I think this is a team they probably had a little bit of familiarity with. They work with programs a little bit. This Mount Miguel staff up in LA, they have connections up there. So maybe that's how this matchup came about here. They have a junior quarterback who's thrown for 665 yards so far this season and 9 touchdowns. They also have a running back that's rushed for 500 yards so far in 4 games with 3 touchdowns. So they have a pretty good balance here. They're just a good program that's played a really tough schedule so far this season.
No, correct me if I'm wrong. Was it Helix that played St. Francis most recently, or what? I know one of our teams that it sounds familiar. Like we played them in the Grossmont Conference.
Yeah, boy, you really got me going here, Dave. A little bit. We're going down a rabbit hole. So St. Francis this season hasn't played any of this particular St. Francis hasn't played any of our teams so far this season. In fact, that St. Francis game was put them at 0-5 for the
Ooh.
season currently when Loyola beat them last week 35-7. But let me look back here and find when that game I'd have to look. Hopefully everyone can bear with us here. I'm sorry about this, Dave. You really caught me off guard with this, but I do want to answer your question here. Don't want to delay the show. I don't want to lose any viewers here. But if I just look back here over the years, I don't know how long this is going to take, brother. I really feel like I'm letting everybody down right now.
If it's not at your fingertip, it just sounded familiar to me. That we played them within the last few years. That's all. But sounds to me like they're coming in, and that the record doesn't really suffice. And Mount McGill has. I mean, I think the one thing they have over them is the home field advantage, like you said. They're starting to fill the stands like they used to a couple years back, and that helps quite a bit. And then AJ and BJ and I just think there's going to be from what I'm seeing, it's going to be a low scoring affair. Or do you think it's going to be a shootout?
Well, I think, Dave, that Mount McGill does have a very potent offense. I think they're the step up in class here probably is going to lower the score a little bit in this one. I think Loyola probably expected to get maybe 5 touchdowns here. I'd have to think they're going to score between 28 and 42 points. I know that's a pretty wide range. Again, I'm trying to gauge it. Thank you for buying me some time a little bit to answer your question as well. It was back in 2021. St. Francis faced 2 Grossmont Conference schools back to back. They beat Steel Canyon 32-25 in overtime and at home, and then hosted Granite Hills the very next week 34-25. I only make those comparisons here because Mount McGill is now in the Grossmont Hills League, and they're at home, at least in that one. Back then in that season, this was in 2021, first season out of the pandemic, that Steel Canyon, Granite Hills. Remember, our Hills League teams had 4 teams in the league.
Trifecta.
Opponents at that time. They ended up with facing this Loyola team or the St. Francis team and went up there, and both of our teams did lose those games. So just tried to make the comparison there. This wasn't about St. Francis, but it just happened that Loyola was their recent opponent.
Right. So you're thinking more.
Oh yeah, I'll conclude that. So I would think that Mount McGill is an underdog here. I fully expect to. This is the type of game where I expect Mount McGill to graduate and prove everybody wrong. This is what I'm expecting. I mean, the confidence that this team shows right now in taking on a game like this, where they stand currently, maybe still a little bit underrated by the pollsters. A little bit. Maybe I have them ranked too high. I think this is still a tough game, but I think this is not something where they're biting off more than they can chew. I just think it's going to be very, very close, man. I'm going to end up picking Loyola here, just looking at the overall strength and what the computers, I should be a little bit of an indication, but I'll say it's going to be 35-28 in favor of Loyola. But there's no reason why this, to me, I think this is the game of the week as far as, intrigue to me. Mount McGill still in the ranks of the unbeaten. They're, obviously you see right there the better record. If you just looked at it, you'd be like, well, here's Mount McGill taking on a 1-3 team. That's not going to be the case here. This is going to be extremely competitive, and I would imagine that might be a coin toss, but the power ratings seem to indicate Loyola is, a little bit bigger, stronger maybe than Mount McGill size wise and league wise and all that. That makes them the favorite actually in this game if you follow the stuff, the computers and things like that, like I do. So I want to pick Mount McGill. I just can't, you know, no, people are going to maybe look at this and want information about Loyola. What is it? Just like you were asking, what is this all about? And Loyola is probably a favorite here, Dave, by maybe more than a touchdown. I think the one computer's got Loyola by one touchdown, another computer's got Loyola by a couple, by more than two touchdowns actually. So I just think it's going to be closer than that. I like Mount McGill to hopefully pull off an upset here. This is a game I feel like if they can win this game, then it should perk up everybody's antenna right now. If not, if it hasn't already, about what Mount McGill has achieved so far. We know Mount McGill also coming off of a bye week here as well. Saw some information on the internet talking about the personnel that are being eligible this week. Mount McGill's had players, one of their star players play in a couple of games already that was supposed to be declared eligible just this week, but I think that was just an error on the part of the don't believe everything you read is what I'm saying there. So I think Miguel here, Dave, I'm hoping that they can win this game. I think this is going to be my most interesting game to look at on Friday night. I'm really looking forward to this one, and I want to take them. I just can't. I don't want to tell everyone that Mount McGill is going to win. They're expected to win because I just don't think realistically. I don't want the players to hear that. They should think that they're going to win this game. That team is 1-3. Maybe they can capitalize on the fact that they have lost 3 games so far to tough teams. Mount McGill should be a tough team. They were 10th, I think, this week in the Max Preps poll. And in the UT, let me see here if I have that. As well. They're a little bit higher in the UT poll. They're just starting to slip a little bit, I think, because of the schedule, but that'll change right here when you start to add teams like this into your schedule. When you got a team that is ranked probably I think it was 50 spots higher. Let me get that right in the state here. No, it's not that high, but nonetheless. Loyola is ranked higher than Mount McGill. Right now, in the UT poll, Mount McGill this week was, number 8.
Wow. I don't know his theory behind it. You probably know the theory behind it better than anybody because you were his right-hand man. My dad liked to stir it up on the other side. He really wanted, for instance, Mount McGill to win the game, so he'd stir it up a little bit, favoring the other team even more so than Mount McGill. But I think in this one, you really don't have to stir it up. From what I'm understanding, it is going to be a shootout. And I think what it'll come down to is 2 things. I think that the bye can be a great thing, and then a bye can also bite you in the tail end. And I don't care what level professional, college, community college, high school. Sometimes those buys can not give it can give you the rest, but I think a lot of times when you're on a roll, especially when you're undefeated, I think it's almost best to keep rolling. Um,
Yeah, but
but
everybody's
that,
got to take a buy, and I think one thing you see here these last 2 weeks, you know, when half the teams take a buy, you know, uh, for every team that takes a buy, you got to have another team that takes a buy, basically. And I think that's why these 2 weeks right now are the 2 weeks that we're seeing everybody take buys.
and the other thing is, I think it's gonna come down to uh, uh,
There are
battle of the turnovers, and whoever it's going to be a close one. They are going to score some points. Like you said, I'll take Loyola by a touchdown. However, if they win the turnover battle, as far as the Matadors are concerned, that would be the way that I would pick them to win uh, by a touchdown. But I'm going to go with Loyola.
Yeah, I don't even know if Mount McGill expected when they scheduled this game before, that they would be facing a 1-3 team here. But like I said, there's still 50 spots between Loyola and Mount McGill in the Max Prep computer. I think it said something like 74 for Loyola and 125 for Mount McGill, I think, here ranked currently in the state. So, really intriguing matchup here. And yeah, you mentioned it with the Mount McGill and their talented uh, team. Look, they have great offense against teams that are suspect defensively. I don't think they're going to necessarily get that here, so they will have to rely upon this really, really top-notch talent that Mount McGill has. Like I said, this would be a game that would wake everybody up, and maybe I have them higher than everybody else for sure. Right now, I've bought into the sauce here with the Matadors. I'm all about the hype. I'm all about everything that's gone on with the Matadors. So I
I,
want them to win this game. Make no mistake here, and I'll be cheering for them in this game. But
well,
go ahead.
Ramon,
Mm-hmm.
show me the money. That's all I'm gonna say is you guys played some decent teams, but now we're gonna get into the cream of the crop playing a team like this from Los Angeles, and you know what? That's when I'm gonna jump on the Mount McGill wagon. But they played some decent teams, but I still don't think that they're. I'm gonna come out and say it. They're not above Granite Hills at this point. You beat these guys though from Los Angeles. That's definitely going to propel you a couple of spots. So, and don't forget about Steel Canyon too. I think they lost a game, but they played some pretty tough ones too themselves. So, um,
Okay. Great transition, Dave. Let's look into it here with the Eagles on the road, taking on the Madison Warhawks here in this one, Dave. I've got both teams ranked in the top 25. Of course, the Eagles right now, they're third in our poll. They're third in the UT poll. They're third in the computer rankings for the most part coming into this one and taking on the Warhawks. The thing here is you're on the road if you're Granite Hills, and you're also, coming off a loss, and that's very unfamiliar territory right now for the Eagles, Dave.
well,
I would not coming off a lot. They beat Eastlake. I don't want to
I know which one you're talking about, Perry. That the one
Yeah.
that they really.
They bounced
But
back nicely. I apologize for that.
yeah, Granite Hills. They boy did they take it. They took it out on Eastlake. Pretty, pretty much.
They did,
Let's.
but remember early on, it was there was a close game for a few. I'll say a few minutes, but remember the back-to-back uh, kickoff returns. It was
Yep.
actually wasn't
Punt
it
return.
close game early on there with Eastlake. Eastlake, interestingly, is going to Texas this week to play a team. They're probably 7 touchdown underdogs, but I just want to make a note of that. They are traveling to Texas to play a team this week.
Well, let's consider. I mean, I honestly, I should know this. How long Kellen Cobb's been at the helms, but I will tell you what, the talk around the league, if you talk to a lot of the coaches, players, um, even other writers, um, he's built one heck of a program. And, Granite Hills wasn't always as competitive as they are now. They had some mediocre seasons. They had some great regular seasons and then get knocked out of the playoffs pretty often right away, first round. Uh, and then they go from that. He stays with what he's got, and then he gets some better players, and he switches it up. I think he's had some of the best defenses in the East County for sure over the years. And they and Madison and Granite Hills know each other real well. They've played each other several times.
You said it. Well, Dave, let me clarify. So the loss to Perry, I blew the script there, Dave, in this game. I had a little neat thing laid out, and I already blew it. But so they lost to Perry, right? And we know Perry was coming in from Arizona, pretty good team. We talked about it. Yeah, maybe the Eagles should have won, or we feel like they should have won that game, right? The other loss, so that ended Granite Hills, not modest. I mean, they lost the last game of last season in the state playoffs. Remember, though, that was to Mission Viejo in that game. Remember, after they beat Lincoln in that thriller, they lost their playoff game to Mission Viejo, right? So that's another team not from San Diego. Those are their only losses right now over the last 2 seasons there, right? You go back to 2022, they lost, of course, 2 games in that season. And the last game that they lost, a San Diego section team, was Madison. They lost 15-12 at Madison in week 6 back in 2022. They also lost to Poway that year in the season opener on the road. But really, that loss to Madison just set forth the winning streak that sent them all the way, obviously, to that magical state championship run after that point. But the last section team, San Diego section team, that Granite Hills has lost to was Madison back in 2022, a 15-12 loss on the road.
Yeah, and I've seen them. They're never blowouts. Or at least I haven't seen blowouts between the two of them in a while. And then let's not forget, Madison had played Steel Canyon, and we saw how they fared against Steel Canyon. And they got their one sole win against Steel Canyon.
Yeah, and Madison makes half of their schedule, it seems like, made up of our teams. Of course, they played Helix last week, and it was 23-20 when Helix played Madison already. Another Grossmont Hills League team so far this season. So, this will be the third Hills League team that they'll face so far in their first 5 games of the season.
And of course, if you look at the record and you look at the teams that they have lost in the Grossmont Conference, I can tell you right now that Granite Hills is the cream of the crop at the moment. And so I think, even though they're on the road, I think Granite Hills should be able to handily beat Madison. There's just too many players that come to mind. I mean, look what we saw in Spalding last week. I mean, yes, coach threw him in there in the last 4 or 5 minutes, but I tell you what, we talked about this off the air. He was pretty impressive. Uh, I mean, big chunks of yards, 7 yards here, 10 yards there, and then he gets another six. So you got a two-headed monster once again. Um, no offense to Pablo, he's doing great in Helix, but we may have found a star to go along with Max Turner. And I'll tell you what, if we have a two-headed monster again, that Granite Hills team's going to be even more dangerous because being able to run the ball, open up some screen play action, I think it's going to be Granite Hills having their heyday as long as that. But I had to bring that up. Spalding was just, oh my goodness, he impressed me. Uh, Coach, if you're out there or one of your players is watching right now or parent, put that guy in there. Give Max. I mean, Max is the man, but I think if you throw Spalding in there as well, give him a break. I think they're going to get big chunks of yardage, open up that passing game, and then we all know how poised Benitez is back there, and he's got one heck of an arm, and then maybe a nice long pass to Lewis or something. That would be par for the course, and the defense, as I mentioned last week, that come off the tip of my tongue is De Leon and Proctor. I think they were in on almost every tackle.
Mm.
Um, and they got some pretty big fellas up front, and that pass rush is fierce. And the reason for that is because they got a great secondary. So Madison, you have your hands full. Granite Hills is coming over there. They're probably going to school you a bit, and I'm going to say my Eagles by 3 touchdowns.
I agree, Dave. I think it'll be right around there, 35-14, maybe 35-21. If the Eagles are slipping a little bit, you mentioned, yeah, they aren't getting to the quarterback as much as they have in the past, but maybe they haven't need to, I guess, so far this season. So, yeah, I think you mentioned on offense with Spalding, he's the obvious backup here, and because of his youth, I think he's the running back of the future for this team right now, and the passing game certainly sharp as well. Tristan Diaz, the junior, is looking really strong too. Is that kind of number 2 man with Lewis in the receiving core? And you mentioned those defensive players with De Leon and Proctor, of course. Parker Vance doing a great job as well as guys like Smith. Trevor Smith and Wells as well. So Eagles should take care of this one, Dave. I would think, yeah, 35-14, 35-17, just somewhere in there. Maybe the Eagles, Madison certainly has, defensive players. Maybe they can keep it down 28 to 4, maybe 28 to 14, but whatever it is, I've got the Eagles winning this one for sure on the road. And maybe it'll be, I think Madison's a pretty good team. So maybe it will still be kind of close early, and we'll be wondering, how long it takes Granite Hills to wear another opponent down. Because Madison certainly has some talent here. Their 1-3 record certainly is partially due to their tough schedule so far this season, Dave. They've lost, I mentioned they lost at Helix. They also lost at La Jolla, which is a top 10 team, and they lost an out of section game to Foothill High School of Santa Ana. And you mentioned their one win against Steel Canyon, a game that I imagine the Cougars, they lost that one by 2 touchdowns, actually. That does kind of soften up the Cougars record a little bit, but we'll talk about them in just a moment. So we're on
Well,
yeah.
I'll tell you that I don't know if you've noticed it, but if you watch the Eagles playing this year too, Uh, they don't look a serious. They look like they're having fun out there. They're smiling, the high five. I mean, they really, not only the talent, but they look like they're having a fantastic time out there, uh, as if they were playing, street football. But definitely, they're gonna go in there and, unfortunately for the Madison fans, you might be leaving early. But with that being said, Granite Hills has started off a little bit slower at the beginning, but as you mentioned before, and then they wear them down, and then they finish them off.
Yeah, and I think that's what will happen here. The remember Granite Hills. I still remember own a win over Mission Hills on the road. That's why they're ranked third. Mission Hills is a team that's ranked fourth right now in the county in the current media poll. So, all right. Well, I think that certainly with uh, their sophomore quarterback at Madison, and they have some other good talent there, including Jackson, the receiver, the coach's son, doing a good job. So Madison's still a pretty good team. They've just played a tough schedule, but Granite Hills is expected to win. Okay, next up. A great game here, Dave. I got to highlight it, kind of the featured game of what's left out of the non ranked teams here because it's two of our teams. And it's an intriguing matchup for sure because of the contrast of styles here now. There's a difference, make no mistake, right now between Monte Vista and Grossmont. But my good friend Dave Dickens is going to be here to tell you why every reason that Monte Vista, despite being a big time underdog in this game, according to the computers, is going to give Grossmont a battle.
I definitely think they are. I mean, it's not just the record, and it is two different styles. You have Grossmont that don't let me take anything away from Tommy. He can throw that ball at will. He's got plenty of receivers with Walker and Parker. Here's my thing though. But then Monte Vista has Villanueva, and that kid. No, he doesn't just score touchdowns. He makes tackles. He strips balls. He intercepts balls. I mean, the kid is just something fantastic. Uh, let's not forget about our correspondent Kasim as well, um, as he does some of the. He's a part of the a lot of the blocking schemes, and not that Monte Vista runs the ball or anything,
No.
but it's worked for him for so many years, and he's very, very good at it. I don't want to say that it's simple. I think there is a lot more to just lining up in an eye and going for it. Uh, they do have a couple of. They're not big guys I mean, huge up front, but they are very athletic. Some strong guys up front, and just those some of those blocks. You watch it, and some of those. I mean, you saw one where Kasim had the. It was one of my favorites that you brought to my attention, where he opened that small little seam. What a block, and then Villanueva off to the races. And boy, can he run? Now, question is Bean coming back, or are we going to keep Derek back there? Because if that's the case, we may see not so much only run. We might be confusing the Hillers a bit and throwing a couple of passes, a couple of short ones, maybe to the sideline. Who knows? That could be the secret weapon, is actually throwing the ball. And as we've seen before, he can. And he threw a touchdown 2 games ago, I believe.
Yeah, in fact, he has 2 touchdown passes this season, Dave, and it's going to be more of the usual though for the Monte Vista
Ah,
Monarchs for sure, with Alex Villanueva here at running back. I mean, the Monarchs, run basically at a 2-to-1 ratio coming in, and it'll be up to Grossmont here, right? I don't know. The loss against Otay Ranch was so disturbing. The Mustangs came in and they ran all over them, scoring on the first three drives of the game in that 56-20 win over the Foothillers on the Foothillers turf. So that's what the concern is for me right now. That a team like Monte Vista, if they can just keep from turning the ball over and eat up their drives as well. Now, there's a difference in class here with Mount Miguel and Grossmont. I'm just talking about the size of the teams and the programs, and that's why Grossmont is such a substantial favorite here in this game, Dave. The computers will rate Grossmont probably a 3-touchdown favorite here or more in this game against Monte Vista. I don't think you're buying it.
I don't because they have the bigger amount of players to switch out and give them a little bit of a break. But these Monarchs, they've been doing it for years. They've always had low numbers. They go both ways, but they're conditioned to do that. They're conditioned to play 4 quarters and go both ways. So I mean, they have that stamina to be able to do it. And let me tell you something. If Grossmont's thinking they can just throw it at will, though, and run right over the Monarchs defense, it's not going to happen. You need to do it methodically, and I'm sure that Coach Lawrence, I'm sure that he knows that as well, that you can't just chuck it up there and go long, because I'll tell you what, these are some fast Monarchs too. And you don't want Villanueva on the other side of the ball too, because he might pick up a scoop and score or two. But very dangerous on defense, very dangerous on offense, even though they don't have the numbers. Let's look at how many points they've scored too in the last 3 games as well. Maybe were some of those teams as good as Grossmont? You know what? Some of them were comparable. This one's a tough one. And then, like you mentioned, after that game against Otay, it's really hard. I mean, if they would have beaten Otay by a couple of touchdowns, then I would probably go
That
with
was a
Grossmont.
big surprise to me. I didn't, we get some wrong here and there, Dave, but I don't think anybody expected them to lose by 5 touchdowns to them.
And that's what I'm saying, and I'm sure everybody, there's no way that Monte Vista, I know deep down you know that Monte Vista is that team. If any team is going to will themselves to win too, that's another thing that Monte Vista has year in and year out. So I can tell you they're fired up. I'm sure that they have been licking their chops to go in there and beat Grossmont on their turf. I mean, I think that is probably, to them, it's their little mini Super Bowl, if you will, going up against a team like that, like the Hillers. So for me, I know people think I'm crazy, but after watching the amount of points and how they do play and having them on a couple of times on the show, I am going to say, that's right, Monte Vista is going to win by a touchdown.
Okay, yeah, I do think you're crazy for sure, but that's why we have you here representing the Dickens name in calling a big time upset here with Monte Vista. I certainly think Grossmont still wins this game probably by 3 touchdowns in this one. I'll call it 42-21 or so. Teams did play last year. Look, when I say a 3 touchdown game, I think that's closer than what the rankings and ratings are saying in this game. I think for the most part, the rankings have it a 5 touchdown game here in this one. I don't see that. I think the Monarchs have the ability to keep this in within a couple of scores just because of the way they play and the fact that they hang their hat defensively. Last year's game, Dave, was just it was a wild one. Monta Vista was at home and lost just 46-34 in that game. It was a pretty strong performance for Monta Vista, considering, right? 34 points against Grossmont. That was pretty impressive for them to do that in that game. So I would say watch out. I think the Pillars better be paying attention, certainly after what we saw in that last game. Noah Walker had a big kickoff return. He had a very nice game. Amari Riley caught that pass from Tommy Donovan to get him on the board. But uh, and also Kenneth Krause, I want to mention him because he got a couple of scores, I believe, in the game, where he had a conversion reception as well. So a few new names there, but just concern right now, it feels like, for Grossmont here. Monta Vista coming off the bye in this one. Of course, remember, they've scored 35 points in 3 consecutive games right now, has Monta Vista. So they are clicking on offense like we haven't seen them really. And this is just a step up. I know you're saying that maybe Grossmont might be comparable to some of these teams we've already played, Kearney, Castle Park, and the Coastal Academy team
Yes.
that we mentioned. But I've got to have Grossmont much, much stronger than those teams, quite frankly. Maybe closer to Vincent Memorial, but Monta Vista lost that game 21-0. So I agree with you. I think, look, if I had to at least say they'll keep it within what the computers are projecting, I say yes. Yes, Monta Vista will keep it close.
So pepperoni round table. If
No, it's not fair. Not fair. Just pick your upset because uh, you know we'll spend a whole show celebrating your prediction. Really, if Monta Vista, look, come on, Monta Vista, go have a great game here. Let's make this a great game. We've seen Grossmont, uh, in some crazy games.
wild games this year, holy cow! I mean, to start off the
Right.
season, they're almost putting up a record that they didn't want to put. They didn't really care too much for against the Henry Patriots, and then the OTI game. So it has been a wild season for the Hillers for sure.
Want to say hello also to my house store Dean, our regular poster checking in. He says the new divisions will be interesting. You could have Madison and Point Loma playing in Division 3. I would say that those teams might be actually ticketed for the Division 1 or Division 2 playoffs. Remember, you're just chopping it up basically amongst the rankings, and if you have a Madison team right now ranked around, you know what did we have him 25th? I think the computers have him 25th. That's going to be a Division 2, and Point Loma, they're probably right on the bottom of Division 1, or maybe at the top of Division 2 right now, because right now Point Loma ranked about 23rd. So you figure the top 4, and then you've got the next grouping of teams for 16, and then you're into the 20s where Point Loma and Madison will likely be in Division 2. Okay, let's continue on. Dave, we're going against each other in this one, but look, I love the upset call because I think that Monta Vista has a big chance to stay closer than what these computers are picking here this week for sure. Okay, here is one where you mentioned Dean mentioned Point Loma, and they have a pretty good team as usual this year. But these teams, I have them ranked basically relatively right. Basically relatively. How about that? Right next to each other for the most part. We've got Point Loma ranked 23rd in our poll this week. I've got Steel Canyon just outside the top 25. They're right behind Madison, right? Basically is where I put them here right now. Maybe off what we've seen so far this season because Madison was able to beat Steel Canyon. So I've got Madison at number 25 and basically Steel Canyon at number 26. Now, Point Loma comes in here, Dave, and they're going to be a favored team here to win, but I think Steel Canyon with the home field, if there's anywhere where I'm going to pick an upset here, I don't know if you call it an upset, but I'm probably going to be on the Cougars here to beat Point Loma the way they're playing right now. I'm really impressed in this one. I think the Cougars can make a jump here following their great win last week. That really was one to take note of. They were very excited and happy to be holding the Hamishaw helmet once again. I hope they didn't celebrate too much on that one because they were really big favorites there, but they were celebrating that trophy like they really wanted to retain possession of it. I don't know. I mean, they were expected to win that game and they beat them by 31 points. Talking about the win over Valhalla.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Point Loma. Let's see, their leading receiver, Junior Carter. He also plays running back. About 100 yards receiving per game, and looks like their leading runner 60.5 yards a game, senior Ogden, and total touchdowns. Only one guy we got here, Upjohn, and looks like that they're winning a lot of these games defensively. As far as the pointers are concerned. So, with that being said, might be having a little dream weaver going on in this game. And then, I mean, Kaha is just, it's fun to watch him the way he picks apart some of those secondaries. I think, like you said 2 weeks ago, and you said 3 weeks ago, he is one of the underrated quarterbacks in the Grossmont Conference. But he's been proven that he deserves to be there. And then they do. They have, I think, a little dose of Weaver, a little dose of Kaha. And if they can hold off the pointers and keep them out of the end zone, I don't think it's going to – you're going to say yes. But I think it's not going to be a high-scoring game. I'm going to probably go out on a limb. I am going to say Steel Canyon's going to get their 5th win. And I think being at home is going to help a lot. We all know, I mean, you go to a Steel Canyon game, I've been to enough of them, even in my time, and I'll tell you what, that place, when it's rocking, those Steel Canyon fans are loud, especially when you get into the red zone. Most people, and I'm sure the computers are picking Point Loma, but I tell you what, I'm going to pick Steel Canyon. And I am going to pick them 21-14 over Point Loma.
Yeah, the computers definitely favor the pointers here by 1 or 2 touchdowns for sure between the two that I follow anyway. But I've got the Cougars here winning this one. It'll probably be just by a point or two. I've got it coming down to the wire here, Dave. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I've got to take the Cougars here to win this one.
They've been doing it.
They've been doing it. You're right. They've been doing it, and you're right. Kaha, 267 yards and 5 touchdowns against Valhalla, and this guy's really not getting mentioned with any of the quarterbacks right now in the county, but his statistics certainly match up with a lot of these guys right now. I don't know what we have to do to get him noticed more. Steel Canyon, you mentioned Weaver, and look, they've always hung their hat on a strong running game, but this balance is making it really, really difficult right now to defend the Cougars. He has almost 1,000 yards already this season and 12 touchdowns. which really is second only to Donovan out of East County throwers here right now. He looks like the second best quarterback in the conference currently.
Would you say he could end up being in comparison on in the fish conversation from a couple years back?
And I think it looks better than that. I really do. I mean, you look at a
Uh,
guy here who has, he's these targets too, right? He's helping these receivers make a name for themselves. It feels like guys like Noah Diarcos, Josiah Stalker, Aeneas Paredes, they caught touchdowns last week. Names we really haven't talked about, and that's not even including Nico Yara, who had a big touchdown that put them way up at that point. Weaver only had 5 carries in the game. He rushed for 132 yards, including a 56-yarder. So really wasn't much of a contest against Valhalla last week. I'm going to take the Cougars here, Dave, in this one to win it by just a point or two. I've got a close game.
All right. Well, we agree on that one.
Thank you to Dean, of course, with his great comments here in the chat this week. All right, Dave, we agree that the Cougars will upset here against the Pointers. Next up. All right, Dave, this one's going to be real interesting to me with the Patriots going on the road here against the Spartans. Now, the computers are going to favor the Patriots to win this one, but Chula Vista is having, for Chula Vista, it feels like an epic start to the season right now at 4-1 coming in. And we've seen Christians slipping up a little bit here. I have concerns, actually, about the Patriots being a favorite on the road this week.
Now, I believe let's see, 1, 2. Spencer should be back, and he should be in full. I mean, he should be behind center most of the time, full time in this game. However, uh, he has a lot of speed. I'm not going to take anything away from his arm, but he's a really fast quarterback. But, don't take anything away from Wilkins. When he did fill in, he didn't have to throw the ball as often. But you know what? He had a couple of really nice throws. I mean, he started off, unfortunately, with a pick, first throw of the game. I mean, but you're going to get the jitters out after that. And then he didn't throw another one after that. But I think between the two of them, I've a little bird told me that, you may see at one point Spencer, maybe he'll go out for a pass or something. He is a pretty fast kid. He's pretty elusive. Not that I'm not sure if Wilkins is quite conditioned for that yet. I think he needs another game or two under his belt. So I'm sure it's going to be Spencer for the whole game.
Okay, because you've been talking, you guys have been talking, you've been telling me every week about Caleb Runkle, and this would be the week that he would become eligible. We don't know. I don't think we've spoken to the Patriots about that.
I have not been given the green light on that yet, but you know what? At the same time, maybe mum's the word, and they want to keep that as a secret weapon and bring him out when they really need him. And I'll tell you what, if that works out, I think that would be something that could put them over the top for sure in a W over Chula Vista. But we don't know. I did not get any of that information as far as Christian is concerned. That Christian line, as opposed to the D line that Chula Vista has. Uh, they're really going to have to shore it up. I think they need to give Spencer a little time to get out of the pocket. At least if he's not going to step and throw from the pocket, I think they need to give him some time to get out of there. But we saw Mr. MIT, darn it, Jake, right? Yeah, he's doing well up front. But I just think Christian's one of those teams that they are definitely a team, and they're not one guy is he's going to lead the whole team like they were a couple years back. They are a team altogether, and I think Coach Bug loves it that way. And we have a lot of players that do go both ways with Christian as well. I think you're going to see a lot of running, and that's not just Spencer, but our buddy that we spoke to a couple of weeks ago. I think they did really well against the Bucks. I don't know what the exact total was, but against Mission Bay, they were really successful with the run. So I wouldn't be surprised if they start off against Chula Vista and test the run. And if that's working for them, then you better watch out Chula Vista, because Spencer can get the ball downfield. And if he doesn't throw it, he definitely can run. So there's a couple of weapons. But you were saying the computers are also picking Christian. But Chula Vista beat El Cap, I want to say. And that one was a shocker, and I believe it was at El Cap, if I recall, which was a big shock.
Yeah, in fact, I have these teams right now, Dave. In our current poll, I kind of extended out a little bit and just try to keep up on all the teams, engage where they're at. And currently, I have Christian basically one notch ahead of Chula Vista here currently, Dave, basically at number like 38 and 39 or 39 and 40, something right in there as far as my rankings are concerned. So, or maybe not that low, maybe 33, 34 or 34, 35, somewhere right in there. And I have Christian just one notch ahead of Chula Vista. Throw in some home field advantage for the Spartans, and I'm not sure I can differentiate between these two currently. But yes, the computers have Christian here by 1 or 2 touchdowns, and I don't know. It seems to me like Christian, the games they're supposed to win, they have some struggles, and then when they're a little bit of an underdog, they seem to come through with flying colors. So that disturbs me here a little bit going into
like the first game of the year on the road, when they went up and played the team up in, was it Murrieta or Temecula? They went up there and took care of business.
Well, 22-21, thrilling game. But then they lost at home to Bishops. No problem there. I mean, Bishops, having a pretty, strong year here at this point. I mean, they're certainly a few notches. They have a couple losses now, Bishops does, but there's still a few notches ahead of these teams here right now. So I'll take Christian, but only by not by more than a touchdown. They'll win it, maybe by 1, 2, 3 points here. I hope they win.
And you really can't count Santa Fe Christian, because those two are such rivals. I don't know. That's the way I look at it. The last loss, they can go either way. One year they'll win. One year they'll win. They know each other so well. So that, and then but Chula Vista shocked a couple of teams that I don't think they should have beaten El Capitan, to be quite honest, and I don't think that they were picked to do so when they did play at El Capitan at the time.
No, but right now, there's something different about this Chula Vista team. They're really clicking here at this point with a 4-1 record. Victories over Olympian 35-0. They beat Hilltop 26-7 and Bonita Vista 28-0. In addition to that El Cap game, so teams that you're very very familiar with. And their one loss was to La Jolla Country Day 35-6. So tough game here. I really think Christian, they're favored to win. I'll take them because I don't want to go against them here necessarily, but my uh, upset radar is on here for sure. If you could, Chula Vista might not think they are underdogs here. They know they're 4-1. They're playing very well, and Christian's had mixed results. So
The
I think
the only game that Chula Vista won that I think I shake off and don't think was that big a deal is the one that they played down in the South Bay. I just I don't think Olympian has been really too much to write home about personally.
I understand, but don't forget, um, uh, uh, Grossmont played Olympian, remember, and won on the road. If this helps at all, Grossmont won 56-16 at
Yep.
Olympian.
So let's put it this way. I think the same. I think they're going to match up well, but it's whoever shows up to this game and is ready to rock. And I think the key to Christian is they're going to have to establish the run, and they are going to have to. I think they're going to have to play fast. They're going to have to be up and down that field. I don't think there's going to be time to be messing around. I think they're going to need to get rid of that ball too. There's not going to be the time to hold on to that ball as far as Spencer is concerned. He's going to need to step out of that pocket and either run for it or he's going to have to find one of his receivers. That's why I think we need to establish a running game immediately. And Christian has I think a pretty decent defense. So I don't think Chula Vista is going to just roll over their line or anything like that. But I'm going to say Christian by a field goal.
Okay, I'll be right there with you. Christian edges this one out, somehow finds a way, but you look at right now, the way the computers have it, they actually have, like I said, Christian 32nd in the Max Preps computer and Chula Vista 38th. But again, Chula Vista's at home, so that's got to be an equalizer a little bit. Okay. Here we go. Next up, Dave. I think we found us a victory here, but I know we got to be fair here and talk about what dangers await for Santana here. They're considerable favorites against the Claremont here in this one, certainly by as many as 3, 4, maybe even 5 touchdown favorites here to beat Claremont in this one. We saw Claremont play the Braves, so we'd have a little bit of comparison against Grossmont Valley League teams, but this would be a no excuse, sir, here if the Sultans were to get caught napping.
Well, I can tell you that Coach Estes, since he did have the bye, he decided to go check out the Chieftains playing the Braves and do his own scouting. And he, from what he noticed too, and what most have said, it's a very young Braves team, new coach, new system. But at the same time, I think that does have a lot to do with what the score was. Because I don't really think that Claremont is really that good. I mean, who have they beat?
The Braves.
And that's what I'm saying. And then,
Well, look, this is the game on the schedule. That's just the way it is. Santana's probably going to win this game by about 4 touchdowns at home, maybe even more. There's no way this game's even going to be close, in my opinion. Here now, uh, Claremont did have so far. They do have 2 wins. They beat the Braves and they beat San Ysidro, and San Ysidro played Valhalla. Don't forget, so you could kind of make a comparison there. They did lose to their matchups against some of the better teams. They lost to University City, 63-12. They lost to Sweetwater, 31-0, and they lost to Classical Academy. It looks like they're actually pretty decent as well. So to me, it looks like for Claremont, maybe they are a little bit better than advertised or than what we've seen in the past. I mean, they were 4-6 last season, but I don't know. I've got to think here the Sultans are going to win this one in the range of 42-14.
yeah, and you know that Caden Hallman is going to do good things. He's going to do big things. I mean, he's a superstar. Let's face it. He's great as a linebacker, but he can really run the ball. What did he have? I think the first game he had 3 on the ground. I think three touchdowns running the ball. First game of the season, and I mean, he's been very, very impressive. Who else? There's and then our good friend that we got to talk to last week that won with his big foot, Mr. Grant Johnson. Big deal. And people don't really think about that even at the high school level, but those kickers are vital, and Santana's lucky to have the one that they have, so they can come away with points instead of turning over the ball on downs. And then the question will be, is Josh Peel gonna be behind center? And then, or is it going to be Caleb? That's my question.
I don't think it matters in this game. I don't think it matters which quarterback is in there. I think they can handle this game, with a third string quarterback. I think you just continue to run the ball with these guys. With Hallman, he had 97 yards. He had that run out of punt formation. The Sultans won't need that this week. And looking back at that play, they caught us off guard when he said that. I went back and looked at that play. It was a great call considering where they were on the field. They were not in any danger, really, of being trapped. At the 43-yard line. Obviously, a great time to run that play. So that gave the Sultans the lead in that one, and Hallman had another touchdown from 14 yards out. They've had. We talked to Colton Thornton, who's really being a rising star here right now. He had an interception that he told us about. And then when I saw the stats, he had a game-high 11 solo tackles in the game. You saw Miller, you saw Pell, both in there. They combined for 171 yards. Both quarterbacks are sophomores, so I'm not sure you can distinguish between the two.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that secondary. Let's not forget also about De La Cruz. He's also been playing very well, the junior defensive back. And then, as you mentioned, Colton. And then let's not forget about Aiden Thornton. He also plays linebacker and running back, one of the few seniors on the team, but you hear his name called quite often. Um, and other than that, it's a pretty young team. And let's not forget about Aiden Dolan. Uh, he also has made quite a few plays, being the senior on the team, also uh, at the defensive tackle and on that offensive line to assist the which quarterback decides to go in. So really, you got a couple of seniors, and I think they've really done well with this young team, and I think this Santana Sultan team is going to be good for a couple of years. To be quite honest, from what I see so far, and with that being said, we'll start with this one, and I'm going to say Santana by 3 touchdowns easily over Claremont.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm going to go 42-14 or so. Also impressive has been Santana's sack masters there. Jordan Galisi had a sack last week. You got him. You got Liam again. You got, of course, Jake Mayer as a freshman, one of the hot prospects certainly around the county as far as young defensive player. Julian Mayers, I'm sorry, young star. He's a freshman. I don't know his name yet. Sorry about that, Julian. I know who you are. I've been sacking them back there with these guys. Santana definitely looking good defensively up front right now, and against a team like Claremont, this one.
Julian Mayer.
Julian Mayers, they've got three guys really set getting to the quarterback right now. So Santana should win this one handily. Okay, I don't know too much going on here, Dave. We'll wrap up the show. Mountain Empire on the road here against Victory Christian. They are expected to be very competitive in this game. The computers have them favored. I'm not so sure, but it does seem like they might have them by enough that I'd have to consider them to win this game. It just feels like it's going to be tough. I'm gonna take Victory Christian here, maybe by a point or two to get an upset here. It feels like I'm not sure I'm seeing enough right now from the Red Hawks. Victory Christian does have 2 victories so far this season, and this one's tough. We haven't seen. I did see Mountain Empire that one game you made me watch. I think they're on YouTube, but Victory Christian, they have a win over O'Farrell. They also beat a small school out of Temecula so far, but they lost at Coastal 34-0. We saw, we have a result in from Coastal. They lost at Maranatha 49-14, and they lost to Castle Park 14-13. So Redhawks are expected to win this game by the computers.
Now, what was their win? Because I just saw the huge loss to the H word to Holtville. That just that thing got ugly in a hurry. But who are you saying they knocked off?
Who the Mountain Empire?
Yeah,
they won their opening game of the season against Hamilton of Anza 8-0.
they played that team before. That team sounds familiar, but yeah, I'm gonna have to go with you on the Victory Christian. Mountain Empire just isn't the same.
They've been shut out for the last 3 games. They've scored 8 points all season.
And
but they did play. It was Southwest. They played Holtville, the game we saw, and they played Crawford, another decent team.
They're just not that. And I don't want to say it's anything against a coach or anything. It's just the different players, different coaches. But I will say when Coach Bernard Van was in there, boy, those are some special Mountain Empire football teams. They even made the playoffs. They were special team. Enjoyed the winning that they did for a while.
Okay, I'm going to take I'm taking Victory Christian here. I'd like to see Mountain Empire score some points. Can't win without any points, so I'm going to take Victory Christian to win this one.
I will take Victory Christian also, and I'll take them by 14.
Oh, okay. All right, one more. We got an 8-man game here. Foothills Christian going to take on Flint Ridge Prep. Foothills Christian had a great performance. I want to mention last week, Dave, and they're back again among the teams, probably number one right now in 8-man football in San Diego. They're pretty much crushing it. I'll just say that right now. Ended up checking out a lot of the highlights from that last game. Did get to see some extensive coverage there from the Knights last week, and Hernandez was looking strong with his running game. They beat Cornerstone Christian 21-14. It was a third straight win for Foothills Christian as they beat the visitors from Wildemar. Foothills scored on a 21-yard pass from Hernandez to Josh Hawkins. Also, Cameron Brown had an 80-yard touchdown reception. So big win there for Foothills last week. And I don't know too much about the game. I'm not really making a prediction here. I just wanted to update you on Foothills Christian. They had a big game last week and a big stop last week by Ryder Molkanoff. He forced a fumble on a 4th-and-1 play that was recovered by Ryder Dennett. And the Foothills Christian Knights won 20-14 over Cornerstone Christian. Okay. That's it for the show, Dave, and we'll join you for some post game here on Friday night.
We will, and as always, let's thank Granite Mortgage and Lakeside Equipment for their advertising and for our show. I do want to say I think it's going to be a great week of football, and we're going to make sure that you make a stop in for the post game. You never know who you're going to see on the bus, on the campus, or even still on the field. We'll catch them whenever we can catch them, and you never know how many of them you're going to grab when we do our post game. One of our favorites now is that East County Sports Report, and that is the post game. Don't miss it. Usually you get a 9:30 Pacific start time, and that's all, folks. And for Ramon Scott, I'm Dave Dickens. Have a pleasant evening, and let's go Padres.